She was standing there on the gravel, blocking out half the morning sun with those giant sunglasses and that attitude you can spot a mile away, jabbing her finger toward my cabin like it owed her money. That structure's in violation of Code 17.6. She snapped her voice, all sharp edges and fake authority. Unauthorized occupation of a lakefront residence. I almost laughed. I really did not, just at the ridiculousness of her tone, but at the fact that right then she had no clue I was the one who actually owned every inch of this lakeside complex, from the moss on the dock to the last nail in that locked-up cabin she was trying to police. Let me back up a second. It was one of those cool, perfect weekends up at the lake, the air sweet with pine and the kind of quiet that only gets broken by the call of a loon or the crunch of your own boots on gravel. I drove up to check on the place. Nothing dramatic, just the usual, checking the weatherproofing, making sure none of the units took in water during the last big storm, and that's when I saw her strutting around with a clipboard like she was on a royal inspection tour. Susan, that's her name, but around here she's better known as the Lady of Perpetual Complaint. Hair dyed a shade of yellow you only ever see in cartoons posture, like she's got a steel rod for a spine, eyes already narrowed before you say a word. The first words out of her mouth as I step out of my truck, "You're trespassing." And then she's filming me like she's on one of those reality shows where neighbors catch each other doing things they shouldn't. "I've already called the sheriff," she announces, all proud, like that's the final move. "On who?" I ask, genuinely confused for a second. "On you," she says, straightening up like she just saved the lake. Now here's the best part, the cabin she's so upset about. Sealed up tight, not a soul inside since January, and the only reason it's locked down is because I, the actual owner-builder and environmental consultant for this whole project, put it that way after a lightning storm fried its solar array. Utilities disconnected, lockout tag flapping in the breeze. Bright red letters, environmental repair in progress. If you spent 2 seconds looking, you'd know it's not being lived in. But Susan, she saw an opportunity. And let me tell you, some people will do anything for a little taste of power they don't actually have. So here comes the sheriff, lights flashing, radio, crackling blue uniform, cutting through the peace of the lakeshore. And if you've ever had a run-in with the law, in a place this small, you know everybody knows everybody. Hawkins steps out, nods at me like we just saw each other at the gas station yesterday. "Ma'am, can I see your ID?" he asks. Susan's mouth falls open. "Excuse me. I'm the complainant. He's the trespasser." Hawkins barely blinks. "I need your ID. You reported a crime. That's how it works." I just lean on my truck watching the show, trying not to smile. Then he looks at me, almost bored. "You still own all this, right?" I hand him my land title card, the one with my name on every single lot. "Want to see the easement boundaries too?" Susan's mouth opens, closes, opens again. It's like watching a fish realize it's been caught. The twist. There's no actual HOA here, not a legal one anyway. Susan and a couple of her summer friends made up this Community Standards Council and started sending out fake notices, printing their own fines, and mailing invoices to out-of-state owners pocketing the cash. I'd let it slide, figured it was just bored retirees playing pretend until she tried to have me arrested on my own land. Hawkins sighs real heavy, the way you do when you're about to add paperwork to your day. "So let me get this straight, ma'am. You called in a false police report about a cabin that's not even occupied, and you're enforcing rules from an HOA that doesn't exist." Susan's face goes all kinds of red. It's about standards. She protests like that's going to save her. "People take advantage of places like this. I'm just trying to protect the community." I just point at the cabin. "It's sealed. Nobody's even been inside except you, and that's on the trail cam." She doesn't like that. Not one bit. Hawkins asks her to come with him, polite at first, but she's already marching away up the path, pretending she can outrun the facts. "Ma'am, stop walking. You're being detained." He calls for backup, the kind of drama this lake hasn't seen since somebody's dog ran off with the bait bucket. 2 minutes later, another cruiser rolls in. Susan makes it as far as the gravel lot before they get her, and I just stand there, arms folded, watching as the sheriff's department escorts her to the back of a cruiser, a little HOA badge hanging out of her purse like a Halloween costume gone wrong. Here's where things get wild. Hawkins walks back, glances at the cabin and says, "Ever think of turning this into a disaster shelter? Seems like it'd stand up to anything." I tell him, "Funny you mention that, got a Red Cross permit in the works." Turns out Susan almost sabotaged a future emergency shelter, something that's going to help the whole county, not just my wallet. Hawkins laughs and the sound bounces off the water just as Susan's scam starts to unravel in real time. See, Susan didn't just play cop for a day. She and her counsel had been scamming short-term renters for months, pocketing thousands in fake dues, threatening fines, even renting out sealed units when nobody was looking. I had it all on camera, trail cams, doorbell cams, email receipts, you name it. That got the state attorney's office involved, impersonation, mail fraud, harassment, the whole 9 yards. And when the postal inspector heard about the fake invoices, it went federal fast. By the time her lawyer finished blinking, Susan's counsel vanished and the case went to court. The fallout was spectacular. I converted the whole complex into a retreat for veterans and their families, gave free stays to wounded warriors, set up surveillance everywhere, sheriff's deputies check in weekly, now just in case anyone tries another Susan special. And her still out on bond, still circling in her beige Prius binoculars pressed to the window, trying to catch somebody in the act of, I don't even know what, being happy. Sometimes I wave big as you please because the cabin she once reported now has a massive sign, property monitored by veterans and karma. Yeah, that happened. A month later, I'm sitting out front of that same cabin drinking my coffee as the sun turns the lake gold and I get the news Susan took a plea. 3 misdemeanors, 1 felony drop down, ordered to pay restitution for all the fake invoices. And here's the kicker, a 5-year ban from any board council or even the local church flower fund. Nobody in this county will touch her with a 10-foot pole. But there's still a class action brewing because the other owners learned about her 2-year scam, fake dues, fake warnings, even fake rentals. With the footage, emails, and my testimony, it's open and shut. She tries to countersue, says we conspired to defame her, that the cabins were abandoned, and she was just preserving community value. The judge glances at the deed, asks, "Are you listed as an owner?" Nope, not even close. It was honestly like watching a bad TV movie, all the fake notices, inkjet printed with no letterhead maps, timelines, just a mess. Now when someone brings up rogue HOAs in town, they just say, "Don't go full Susan." There's even a sticker for it at the bait shop by Route 7, HOA Free Zone. Since then, this place has come alive in a way it hadn't for years. Owners, renters, and families show up for Friday night cookouts. The Veterans Retreat runs twice a month. And all those donations that used to pay for fake patrols now help real people. And every time I walk past the spot where Susan stood trying to play sheriff, I remember it was never about the rules. It was always about control. And she lost it the second someone stood up and said, "Nope, not today." So if you've got a Susan coming after your cabin, your street, your peace document, everything, know your rights. Let the lawsuit do the talking. I'm still here, still smiling, and I'll tell you what, justice doesn't need to be loud to be satisfying. It just has to land in the right place. What would you have done? Would you let someone like Susan run your neighborhood, or would you fight back? Drop your thoughts below because trust me, this debate about control, community, and what's right is far from over.